Hi. Goodness, it's good that you took some time out for yourself. I think of it as creative time for just me as an artist and how important it is for me, to really stop and get still and connect with my creativity. Um, it's so easy to jump into the day and get going, and so I do value time getting still. For me, that's where I begin connecting with my creativity. And so I just want to go over today, yeah, just share some experience as I ponder how art helps me with inner work. And that's really the foundation of my art practice is really, I use art and creativity as a means of inspiration and encouragement. Um, they often just, connecting with a canvas or color, some movement and line, it really connects me and gives me a greater awareness of my now. And now is where the power is, right? Now is where information is. So somehow, you know, I'll find myself, and you might identify with this too. I suspect you do. I've worked with a number of artists who find themselves stuck, feeling maybe like you've heard the word imposter, the reference to imposter syndrome being thrown around and that sort of thing. Like what makes me think I have something special to say, or why should I paint that out? I've seen so many things, and we get into this space of comparing, and that's nowhere close to being in our uh, centeredness. And I'm talking about centered in self, and not in a selfish way, but when I'm not centered in self, I can't be authentic. I really can't connect with myself in a meaningful way. And I know that you know what that's like. Being around people who are not sincere and not in their centeredness, it's not as easy. And we're human, so we're going to be in those spaces. And the exciting thing is, I've learned to let creativity allow me to be around others in all sorts of settings and in different places in life, in dealing with all kinds of things, whether it be caretaking or loss, maybe embracing something good. That can be a little scary. So our fears kick up in all different aspects. And so this particular painting I used as an example in one of my other talks, and I brought it in because I used it as an example of how I take something from paper to canvas. And so I basically shared that little bit of an experience. And so we had some curious people, and they reached out and they want to know more about my painting. And I thought, oh, this is great, because I'd like to talk about my process and how I use my creative process for creative work and for personally to grow. So this painting began on paper. Okay, so there was some time of using some imagination, letting my defenses down, and just getting real with some charcoal. So I did a little bit of work. Um, I then took it to the canvas, and that's really what this picture is. It's just a photocopy, but it's once I had taken my picture and started placing some things on the canvas, and I did some more writing, and I often do that. I find that to be really helpful too. Uh, so anyhow, yeah, so I let my defenses down, right? I take a look at what's going on, what's my struggle, who is it with? Is it people? Is it personalities? Is it my career? Is it do I feel blocked about a particular painting, or um, is there an area where I feel limited or I'm struggling? Maybe I have so many ideas, I don't know where to start. That's a good thing. I mean, they're all good things because they're all opportunities for us to bring in, and have a new experience with our creativity. Um, I look at it like that creative intelligence that's all around us. It's in us. It's through us. You know, it's the God of my understand, how I understand God, and that's really what the pain is because there's something that needs to be released, and I have to find a way to do that. And so along the way, I come up against myself. I come up against fear. I come up against shame, areas of self protection where, yeah, I'm afraid of what people are going to think, right? What if this doesn't come out pretty? All right. What if the feelings I'm feeling at the moment are pretty ugly and I don't want anyone to see that? I mean, I'm not even sure I want to see that sometimes. However, you know, I can't get to farther down the road unless I begin, right? So I need to take step A without having to try and manipulate or control B, C, D, E. All right, those steps are all a vital part of my process, and my part is to let go and let it flow, to stop trying to control the outcome, to try and stop. You know, creating a masterpiece per se, but just get into the painting experience itself. So, um, as I was contemplating, and you know, in this part of the painting, all right, I I thought, okay, I had been inspired, um, and you know, when you see something you like, you just want to do it, right? You want to copy it, and part of that is, you know, that's a great thing because it pulls us forward. When I see something and I want to copy it, it means that I don't feel like I've got it in me, right? But somebody else does, and it's an inspiration. Um, do not be afraid to begin from that place because it's think about it. If you're copying something, be inspired. So let it be an inspiration to you, um, and don't be afraid. It's not going to come out exactly that way anyway. I mean, if you work that hard at copying something, um, you know, maybe there's some other things to look at, like the need to be perfect, the need to be like that. Because if I'm like that, then I'll be accepted. I will be approved of. People will admire me. And you know what? If it's not true to you, you know, it's only going to be a temporary fix. So you may be the best fine artist. You may be able to mimic and copy all kinds of things. But, you know, ask yourself in the long run, how do you feel about you? Do you feel like you know yourself better? Do you feel authentic? Or do you feel like you're always striving to copy that next thing, to find that next thing that happens? So, yes, we do that for a period of time. Every time I take a class, and I say take a class because yes, I take classes, but I also give, I teach. I am giving classes. Even in those teaching moments, something is happening inside of me. I can't be with you and not have something change in me. That's why I do this. I do this because number one, I like the sense of community. I like to I have come to know that I can't hide by myself in my studio and expect to grow a lot. All right. So being alone in my studio is a very special time. I find it often it's a very sacred time, but 100% time it doesn't work for me. All right. So I need the balance. I need to be able to put myself in connection with community. And so I do that by taking classes. So a lot of my classes, well, most all my classes are not one-offs, okay? So it's not just a quick workshop and you're done. I do have a few of those available for people who are kind of like trying to figure out, especially women who maybe were artistic in their younger years. Maybe they really enjoyed something in their younger years, or perhaps, you know, after they had children and began families or careers, or maybe had to caretake, they set aside everything, you know, in that way for themselves. And they're not sure, they might want to get back to that. But you know what? They're not the same women they were. You aren't. If you're in that spot, you're not the same woman you were when you were practicing before. So what does that look like today? All right. So that's a lot of what my workshops begin with is some sort of retreat or pondering. And so as I did that, as I prepared to paint this painting, what I came up with, and I'll just read a little bit out of my journal. I choose to let go of the fear of being a copycat imposter. Okay, not afraid to look at others, for they are an example. All right, they're my example. I'm going to embrace the freedom of not needing flesh, especially those in authority or that I hold in high esteem, to validate who I am or what my worth is. All right, I'm going to see myself as being worthy. So that's really important. And again, merrily we go along, and then all of a sudden, we're all blocked up. And so am I willing, to really, it's like, God, give me the humility to tolerate myself. I feel like I shouldn't have to be dealing with this after this period of time. I shouldn't feel like, oh my gosh, as a woman who's in her 60s, like, does that make sense for me to be like feeling like a 13-year-old? And you know what? Who cares, right? If I'm questioning myself right now, where I am in life, I think it's a very mature thing to do. So I encourage you, like, let's get real and not be afraid of that. Um, Something else, it's safe for me to let go and be healed. Let that I can trust my inner guide some more. I've come a long way creatively. All right. And I've always been given tools or inspiration by other artists, whether they be local or people I've met online, communities that I've developed to be a part of over the years. And so, yeah, I feel like those are guides. Those are all part of the collective consciousness, if you will, of people that I admire and respect, that I can count on and I can let down and be more vulnerable and transparent with. And that takes time. It does. It takes time, but it starts out with, showing up and finding some people that connect with you. So if you're connecting with things that I'm saying, I would encourage you just to listen some more, find some videos. You can even join my art group. I'll give you details in the comments after we close, and choose to walk in a faith that's greater and more powerful than you can comprehend. If you've got an idea or an inspiration that's beyond your comprehension, that's beyond your skill set, it doesn't mean it's not for you. It just means that you're ready to have a breakthrough, a new experience with the creative power, that you're a creator who fashioned us to be creative, who fashioned us to be in relationship with him. Okay. And so no matter your faith, I'm going to talk in a very general way, in most aspects, and others in a very personal way, because my connection with God today is a very personal relationship. I didn't have that for a long time. I had a very academic relationship with God. God was in the Bible, God was in the church, God was in, the building, whatever. But it took me a long time and a lot of pain to really come to a place where I could be vulnerable. And when I was, people showed up. I heard things that I needed to hear. And I started to hear and see things and be open to the idea that, you know what, as I look through my day, I can see where I got help that was beyond my natural ability. I can see, and I began to cultivate that kind of, I don't know if it's an attitude of perception. Maybe it's all three, because it is physical, emotional, and spiritual. So it's like an experience that comes together. So that's the kind of experience I bring into my creative work. And maybe we get lazy and we start slacking off on something. But when we treat it all together, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, there's a strength there that's not there when we just physically show up to the canvas. If you just physically show up to a canvas, I don't know, it'll work for a period of time, but you might find yourself stuck and frustrated. You might have a lot of unfinished work. You might give up. You might feel like, see, I told you so. You tried one. So in the same token, we can't just be emotional about it. We can't just pine over our creativity and wish and I know I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't want to put this on you, but feeling sorry for myself, like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. I feel like I can, and but unless I show up physically and ask for this spiritual being to join me, this creator to join me, not much is going to happen. So let's see. Rough times have not come to stay; they have come to pass. Okay, things are going to happen to me when I'm working on my dreams. Yeah, I was just reminded of that recently. That things come to pass; they don't come to stay. So stop trying to get back to something that you've done before. Stop trying to get back to that confidence that you enjoyed before. Stop getting back to that comfortability that maybe you enjoyed for a period of time. It's not, we're not wired to stay in a place. Once you engage with creativity and your creator starts doing the work in you, you know, just because you decide you're just not going to pay attention doesn't mean, God just like takes off and says, well, I'll see ya. I gave it a good try. That's not how love works. Love pursues us over and over and over again. And so it's just us. We have to have these awakenings to really come into alignment to where we come in and we're able to express and really release what's inside of us, because everything's already there. That's the confidence I can take and have today. Now, maybe in a couple of days or maybe later this afternoon, I might wobble a little bit. But today at this moment, I have a confidence that I have everything that I need inside of me. So it's about me finding a way that I can become vulnerable and more transparent to see what's holding me back. What is it that I'm not embracing? Is there some wounding that I need to pay attention to? Is there something that someone said that I took to heart that wasn't mine really? It's not my truth. So there's a number of things, and that's the kind of inner work I love and appreciate about this process. So anyway, I asked myself some questions after I pondered. And so I mentioned physical, emotional, and spiritual. So now I sit quietly and I begin to, envision, imagine, see myself manifesting what it is I feel I'm being called into, manifesting my inspiration or dream. What would it take for me to be physically, emotionally, and spiritually prepared, that I would embrace this, that I would be able to paint that out? What steps and actions would that take? Again, you may have the right mindset, but not the skill set. Maybe there's some techniques or things that you need to learn to be able to express what it is that you're wanting to show, that you're wanting to release. So those are some things to consider. And so I just start writing them down. A lot of the beginnings of my paintings come from my journaling. The painting then just happens when I'm ready. But see, I have to posture myself. I have to open myself up in a way that allows this to come. And for me, sometimes it comes and it's just there, and it just comes right out on the canvas. And other times, it comes out in layers and pieces. Well, there's layering and everything, but over time, I guess I should say. And not good or bad. They're both exciting. I've been in situations where I've been painting live, where a painting just came, okay, in a short period of time, and then others that work me. I've been in a season of letting paintings work me. And so this particular painting was over a 6-week period. And so each week I kept soaking into, these observations I had, these awarenesses that were coming as a result of just asking myself some questions. The questions I'll share with you, and I just share with you with one. Am I physically, emotionally, and spiritually prepared to manifest my inspiration or my vision? And take responsibility and be honest about it. I will tell you that as I go through these questions, I share these with, I talked a little bit about having community, having some people that you trust, that you feel safe, letting yourself be vulnerable, be transparent, and listening to you. Okay. Now, I listen to a number of women, right? I don't know what they need. You know, I don't know, but there's something about listening and participating in that process that is very powerful. And so what happens is, and I'll just share my experience when I share with others, is that I start hearing myself. I get to hear, I get to feel in my body when I become resistive because I will be speaking and then all of a sudden I don't want to say it that way or I don't want to reveal that much. These are all awarenesses I have about myself. See, until I get my insides out, it's all up in my head, just going around and around and around because, see, I'm trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out all by myself. That's no good for me. So when I sit and I share that with another artist, with another person I can trust and let my insides out with, you know, I begin to hear myself. And that's the kind of honesty we need as creatives if we are going to get unblocked, if we're going to have the breakthrough, if we're going to create many meaningful pieces that are going to touch others. So, you know, it's really exciting to have women come into my studio and I get to see their demeanor change. And it changes because of there's something collective happening in the studio. And our art uh, carries that spiritual experience. Our art, it's embodied in that painting. And so it's going to transform, it's going to shift the atmosphere, if you will. I haven't heard that term in a while, but it does, it changes things up. Just like walking into a room where you see certain people, it'll shift your your demeanor, right? Because if it's people that are supportive and loving and care about you, you begin to have a sense of feeling at home, right? Because you feel like you can be you. But if you walk into a room and you see a few people that there's some distension with, or that you have a, you know, you don't have a good understanding about, or perhaps have had some differing um, conversations or whatever, and you're not quite there yet. You know, you're open to different things, but you're not quite there yet. You're there, okay? But the feelings that you have, um, self-protection might come up, right? Resistance, uh, just minimizing what you say. Those are all signs of, you know, holding back, resisting. So in that space, we are not freely flowing. All right. So it might take a couple of weeks to break through some of that. And that's why I had said, you know, this is a process. And so I soak into it over the weeks and I just let it go. And in that respect, I learned how to paint over things. I learned how to use a lot of the tools that I've been taught over the years. And again, staying in that now, in that painting experience without the need to control the outcome. All right. So in this painting, there's some symbolism, and the symbolism comes from my quiet time. All right. When I was pondering those things that I shared with you, the fears that I shared with you, the needs I was letting go of. All right. And the trusting that I was, you know, praying for and looking to have more of. So all of those things I was pondering, and you know, so I was asking myself, what is it that would represent that for me? And so I'll share some of those things that came, and um, and it's exciting because when I look at this painting, it automatically helps me to get into this it shifts me, all right, because I know the story there. It's very personal for me, and I've come to realize as I share this with other women, it's not just my story. All right, a lot of women, a lot of artists feel like I do, have felt that way before. And so that's when I know that I am connecting. That's when I'm excited about, you know, being willing to be vulnerable and more transparent, even if it's new to me about certain things or somebody new that comes along. So anyway, so there's a couple of things that I might go out. I have my notes here. I just want to cover a few things specifically, but I'm going to go right to this eyepiece. And I'm going to just share right out of my journal. I just want to share with you eyepiece, representing my heart's desire to connect with and live out of the realm of possibility and potential. And it gives the observer, that's you or someone looking onto the painting, a place that calls them into as well. Like this, when people look at this painting, they're drawn to that eyepiece. And in that, they're coming into my space so I can talk to them about the realm of possibility and potential. All right. A healthy higher heart, um, facilitating spiritual growth and a deeper inner transformation. When we open our thymus, oh, I'm on a different section. This, underneath here, oh, I'll get back to that. Let me finish with the eyepiece. I yeah, I started flowing with that. Okay, so when we choose a perspective of possibility and potentiality, our thought life will necessarily change. So I use the eyepiece rather than paint into paint to. I use the eyepiece rather than an eye. That's essentially what I'm saying. All right, so it's like I put on a new pair of glasses and I'm reminding myself it's about my perception. What kind of glasses am I putting on? You know, some mornings when I wake up, I feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do, I got to get up and go. But if I pause and I put the lens on of gratitude, okay, so that's where I mean my perception with this eyepiece. So I'm purposely putting on this eyepiece as a lens because I want to be able to see from a place of potentiality and gratitude or possibility and gratitude. I did that this morning. I think that's why it's so much on my mind because, you know, like I do, I want to look at what the beauty, the goodness in my life rather than the lack. All right. I want to appreciate how far I've come rather than how far I would like to be or where I think I should be. So that's the whole idea of this eyepiece. So it brings up so many different conversations, and so that's that. So each day I have a choice to set my intention. All right, you might be used to setting an intention and asking for the power to carry it out in whatever the day brings. So that's my little story by showing you the eyepiece by using that instead of an eye. So my portrait is her message is starting to emerge, right? And there's a connection that happens with others when I start using some symbols and getting, a little sassy, like being me. Um, I, um, I mentioned this higher heart of the thymus a minute ago. I got into that by accident, but um, this painting, if you were to look up at it close, there's a little bit of emphasis right here, and it's in the thymus area. And I kept wondering, excuse me, what is it that's causing me to like highlight up here? What is that? And so um, I did a little bunny trail. I often do that. And so the thymus is located. I looked at some of the chakra work and things like that. I'm thinking, for location of where things are in our body and that sort of thing. So the thymus is referred to as the seat of the human soul, representing a transpersonal aspect of the heart, otherwise unconditional divine love. I like that. Lose my voice. So a healthier heart, gives me, this sense of, a healthier ego. So my ego is in check. When it submits to spirit, it's in a healthy place. All right. And a healthy heart facilitates spiritual growth and a deeper transformation. So when we open our thymus chakra, our capacity to forgive and to show passion is enhanced. Our ascendant heart is compelled to pass on its gifts to others as receptacles of divine love. They too will feel it flowing like a water from the spring. So again, I've been talking to you a little bit about, your message, your painting, what connecting with others. When we tell our story, they hear their story. We realize that we're not alone, that we're not just telling our story. I know in my head that God doesn't work in me, so I'll help others. So the work he does in us, what we have overcome, that typically becomes our message. Even when we try and make it something else, even when we don't want it to be the thing that we talk about. Because as we offer that to others, as we share our message with others, not only do we bring, all of the success of what we've overcome, we bring that into this. we become authorities, so to speak, because if God's done a work in me, he can do a work in you. I am not that so special. We are all, you know, children, and that puts us all on the playing field the same. That's ego deflating right there. We don't grow beyond. Again, I said earlier in this talk that when I work with other artists, I find out more about me. That's exciting. So why wouldn't I want to put myself in the proximity of that promise? All right. And so that's one of the main reasons I do what I do. I share with others, and with the hope that if they see this work being done in me, they might say, you know what, I like that too, and be inspired. And then begin that process and see, what does that look like for them? What does it look like for you? Um, you've had these experiences before, perhaps. And so the work is never done. The work is never done. The Cosmo flowers, you see lots of flowers here. It's a daisy-like flower. And in my meditation, I saw these pink flowers that were very tall. And I was like, I was looking out my backyard. I'm thinking, why would I think about these pink flowers that are very tall? I don't remember ever seeing anything like that. And so I looked it up, and I put a search in Google. I love just going on these bunny trails. And I came across the Cosmo flower. And one of the features was they could grow to 6 feet tall. I did not know that. So, so that's one of the things. It attracts butterflies and birds, but people love it above all. It grows up to 6 feet in height and symbolizes beauty, order, peace, wholeness, modesty, romance, a balanced universe, symmetrical, aligned petals, and it's called the flower love. I thought that was so apropos for, me. That spoke to me. I thought, oh my gosh, that's great. Because, when I started and I said, we grow in awareness, we find a path forward. These are the kinds of things that excite me, that let me know that, hey, these are like little postcards from God. These are little signs that I am headed in the right direction. And these are things that are being given to me um, to help inspire me and encourage me. And the Cosmo flowers, their appearance is familiar of the crown. So it's a little ring followed by little flowerets. Um, they're very feminine and tender, and they also represent motherly love. All right. So for all the mothers out there, whether it be in the natural or just mothers of this, of God, who are out there um, encouraging others, because that's how you're wired. You're wired to be a good mama, right? To help uh, bring others into this space and uh, help them to connect with who they are in reality. So I'll just continue it a little bit. The scarlet color comes as it represents energy, passion, desire, straightforwardness. How exciting is that? Optimism and good vibes. That's again, think about what I shared at the beginning of this talk, the things that were on my heart. When I got vulnerable and shared with you my fears, things that were going on at the time, do you see how these little quiet times where we're meditating, we're inviting God into this and saying, what do you want me to see? What do you want me to hear or feel? Um, it's so exciting. I'll just to make this kind of quickly, the atmosphere is something, and you're very intrigued by the atmosphere, perhaps, and there's like an ever-present tension there. So it's pleasant, but there's tension there. Things are happening. It's moving. There's a lot of movement here, and so while I was painting this, I felt a lot of movement. And so one of the things I'll just share with you that I started exploring ecstatic dancing, okay, because there's a lot of movement. It's free form, right? So we can talk about that another time. But I'll go to the bluebird. And the bluebird, again, um, represents, and I say this because while I was out in my meditation, I opened my eyes afterward, I sat quietly, and I was just really pondering what I just experienced in my meditation. And all of these bluebirds started coming in to the bird bath in my backyard. And so I put that on my list, bluebirds, because, I wanted to look it up. So it says bluebird brings a reminder that happiness and fulfillment are well within reach. It's easy to get wrapped up in the details of day-to-day life, where things are like stressful and obligations keep us busy, darting from one to-do to the next. But the little bluebird, it always finds time to gently dance through the sky, patiently making its way through life and singing the song of its own truth. That was just a little something I wrote after I read into what bluebirds are like. But I did find that bluebirds, they represent joy and playfulness. They remind us to lighten up, let go, and stop taking life so seriously. Start taking time to enjoy and express ourselves freely. So bluebirds remind us there's no judgment or doubt in that place. When they are who they are, they're not in judgment or doubt. They go out of their way to avoid confrontation. They're scrappy and will confidently defend themselves when it's needed. Well, I've seen that in action in my backyard. I've seen different aspects of these bluebirds because they're still around, and it's fun. Okay, so they lighten our spirit. They bring hope and energy. And it says, let's see what else. And bluebirds, take this, are a reminder to sing our unique song. All right. So part of our song is in color. It's color on canvas, and maybe you're an artist and a singer too. So I really almost always paint with music. And so I do have playlists that I put together for special things. So I did put together a playlist after I had that meditation. And as I continued to meditate through that 6-week process, I used the playlist and I would add and adjust to it because I was really, it was coming in and helping me be in that place. So, let's kind of wrap this up for the day. And what I would say is, I think it's important to find ways to take what I imagine and transfer it or bring it into my life. And I asked the question at the very beginning, which I ask myself often, am I physically, emotionally, and spiritually ready to have this manifest? And I ask that because I want to be responsible. See, I'm responsible for getting myself still. Now, I might not know how to be still, but I can put myself in the position to get still, right? Or vice versa, I don't know. I know I can sit in the chair, I can set the stage, and I can arrive there. And then I can ask God, ask your creator, whatever you choose to call that spirit of the universe for yourself, to be with you, and that could be as simple as breathing in peace and letting go of worry, and just really being mindful of your breath. And from that place, begin imagining what would it look like if I really embraced the truth about me? What would it look like if I embraced, a faith beyond what I have today that would allow me to let go of the fears, even just for one day, even just for a period of time, and just exercise the freedom to be open to something new with myself. What if I wasn't as limited as I believed myself to be? What would that look like? And I think that's important. So a lot of my process is, well, it's really grounded in journaling and questions and prayer and meditation. Like I said earlier, once I do that, and as I continue that process, the painting just happens. Now, it doesn't mean it's all flowy and comfortable, but it gets painted. All right, I finish it, and that's really representing that I have felt worthy, and that was one of the original concerns I had is not needing somebody else, some other form of flesh, a person, especially someone in authority, to tell me or validate that what I'm doing is meaningful, that it's got purpose. Um, so yeah, I am worthy of taking this time, setting aside what I know, um, being open to a new experience, and letting creativity, have its way. So that's a little bit about my process. Um, I'll just end with this quote. I found it this morning by Henry David Thoreau, and it's from Walden, and it says, "If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them." So hope you got some good stuff out of my foundational kind of message today. And this is the type of teaching that, kind of separates us and helps us say, where am I with that? Because if you listen to this, you know, you're either right there and you're ready. And if that's the case, I would just suggest you get some community. All right. Make a decision, whether it be one on one, whether it be in a group setting. I've got some different options. So I can put in the comments below, I'll put some of those options in for you. And least of all, if you've got questions, certainly, again, you can leave those in the comments, or you can message me, and we can talk. You can go to my website and get my phone number, or send me an email. But I'd love to, to explore some things. Maybe you're on the brinks of, saying, what, maybe it's time to have a creative coaching. Someone that I can be accountable to. And, this could be a 6-week coaching. It could be, an ongoing coaching. Think about what's good for you. If you're considering some kind of coaching, I do offer a free discovery consultation, and we can just talk a little bit about where you are and what your aspirations are, and see what kind of see what kind of questions you have, and how committed you are to doing some work, because it works, but it takes you doing the work, obviously. So watching a video is great, being inspired is great, but really getting in there and putting into action is where we often lack. We get excited, and our follow through is not quite as strong as it needs to be. And that happens for a lot of reasons. It could be that you just got so many ideas and you keep trying different ways to start them up. I certainly identify with that. But having someone there to listen, like I say, and help me sort out, my ideas is always a good thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it today, and I look forward to seeing you again. All right. Thanks again.